One of the clearest signs that you might not be her first choice, but rather a backup, is inconsistency. Pay attention to how she shows up in your life, because in the early stages, it might feel exciting. One day she's flooding your phone with messages, laughing at your jokes, making plans, giving you compliments that make your heart race. You feel like you're building momentum with her, like this is something real. But then suddenly she disappears. Her replies turn short, her availability dries up. She claims to be too busy, and you're left staring at your phone, wondering what went wrong. And then, just when you've almost given up, she pops back in, full of warmth again, as if nothing happened. That push and pull pattern is not an accident. It's a cycle designed to keep you hanging on. When someone is truly interested in you, their attention is steady. It doesn't mean they have to text you every hour or call you every day, but there's a rhythm, a consistency, a sense that you matter in their world. You don't find yourself questioning where you stand. But when a woman is keeping you as her backup option, she doesn't need to give you consistency. She only needs to give you just enough attention to keep you on the hook. That's why you'll experience waves of closeness followed by stretches of distance. She knows that if she gives you warmth occasionally, you'll ignore the cold spells. Think about how this plays out emotionally. Inconsistency creates confusion, and confusion keeps you invested. Your brain starts chasing the highs of her attention like a reward system. When she showers you with affection, you feel amazing, like you're winning. But when she pulls away, you feel anxious, restless, desperate to get back to that high. This roller coaster is exhausting, but it's also addictive, and that's why it's so dangerous. It tricks you into holding on even when, deep down, you know you're not being valued. A woman who sees you as her backup doesn't worry about your confusion, because in her mind, your role is not to be secure, it's to be available. She wants to know you'll be there when she needs company, when her first choice isn't around, or when she's feeling bored or lonely. And so, her attention becomes a tool. She turns it on when she wants you close, and off when she doesn't need you. That's not affection, that's manipulation. Now, sometimes we try to justify this behavior. We tell ourselves she's busy, she's distracted, she has a lot going on. And while all of that can be true, it's important to remember something. People make time for what matters to them. Even the busiest person finds ways to show consistency to the people they truly care about. If she goes days without speaking to you, then suddenly returns with a sweet message that makes you forget the silence, ask yourself, if she really valued you, would she let that silence happen in the first place? Consistency doesn't mean perfection. Everyone has off days, and no one can be fully present 24/7. But there's a difference between human imperfection and intentional inconsistency. One is natural, the other is a strategy. And when you feel that pattern, high engagement, sudden withdrawal, reappearance, repeat, it's usually not random. It's her way of keeping you interested without ever giving you clarity. The danger of tolerating inconsistency is that it eats away at your confidence. You start to wonder if you're doing something wrong, if you're not attractive enough, funny enough, interesting enough. You put more and more effort into chasing her attention, thinking if you just try harder, she'll stay consistent. But the truth is, inconsistency isn't about you, it's about her intentions. And if her intention is to keep you as a backup, no amount of effort on your part will change that. Imagine what it would feel like to be with someone who doesn't make you guess, someone who shows up steadily, someone who makes you feel secure in their presence. That's the standard you deserve. But you'll never reach it if you keep settling for inconsistency disguised as affection. The longer you stay, the more normal the roller coaster feels, and before you know it, you mistake the drama for passion. It isn't passion, it's instability. So here's the truth, you need to hold on to love doesn't keep you guessing. Interest doesn't come and go like a light switch. If you're dealing with inconsistency, it's not because she can't decide how she feels, it's because she's already decided. She doesn't see you as her first choice, she sees you as her backup. And as long as you tolerate it, she has no reason to change. You deserve someone whose attention doesn't vanish the moment something more exciting comes along. You deserve steadiness, not uncertainty. And once you recognize inconsistency for what it really is, you'll stop waiting for the warm moments to justify the cold ones. You'll realize you're worth more than being treated like an option, and you'll finally walk away from the roller coaster. Because the right person won't play with your time, your emotions, or your dignity. They'll choose you consistently, every single day. A healthy connection is built on reciprocity. It's built on the feeling that both people are reaching toward each other, that both are investing their time, their energy, their curiosity. But when you're always the one initiating, always the one sending the first message, making the call, planning the date, checking in, it becomes clear that the effort is one-sided. And that imbalance is not just inconvenient, it's a sign that you may be holding on to someone who sees you as a backup rather than a priority. Think about how much of yourself goes into initiating. You're the one thinking of her when you wake up, so you send the good morning text. You're the one reaching out midday to see how her work is going, to remind her you're present. You're the one calling in the evening, checking if she's free, suggesting dinner, trying to create memories. But what happens if you stop initiating? Does she step in? Or does the silence stretch on endlessly until you can't take it anymore and you reach out again? When someone truly values you, they look forward to reaching out. They don't sit back and wait to be chased, they want to connect. They ask how your day went. They send the first, "I miss you." They create moments to remind you that you matter. But if she's keeping you as her backup, she doesn't feel the urgency to initiate. She knows you'll always step up, so she doesn't have to. And over time, you become the driver of a car she occasionally rides in but never fuels. There's a subtle but important truth here. The energy you invest in initiating reflects your hope. You believe there's something real between you, so you keep pouring effort into it. But effort without reciprocity is draining. You're constantly giving, constantly trying, and constantly left wondering why she doesn't meet you halfway. That wondering alone should be a red flag, because real interest doesn't leave you questioning, it leaves you assured. Now, many people excuse this imbalance. They tell themselves she's shy, she's not good at texting, she's just busy. And sometimes those reasons are valid. But consistency always tells the truth. If days, weeks, or months go by and you're always the one initiating, it's not about shyness or business, it's about priority. Someone who sees you as important will find a way to initiate, even if it's small, even if it's a quick check in, they'll make an effort. And if that effort is completely absent, it's not an oversight, it's a decision. The dangerous part of being the sole initiator is the story you create in your mind. You tell yourself, well, she responds when I reach out, so she must be interested. But think about that carefully. Responding is not the same as initiating. Responding is passive, initiating is active. One requires genuine desire, the other requires only politeness or convenience. A woman who keeps you as a backup will usually respond when you reach out because she doesn't want to close the door completely. But the fact that she never opens it on her own speaks volumes. Over time, this imbalance starts to erode your self-worth. You begin to equate your value with your effort. You think, if I just keep trying, if I keep showing up, maybe one day she'll see how much I care and she'll start initiating too. But that's not how it works. If someone isn't motivated to reach out on their own, your extra effort won't change that. In fact, the more you give, the more comfortable she becomes in giving nothing back. It becomes a pattern, a silent agreement you initiate, she receives. And in that cycle, your role quietly shifts from potential partner to convenient option. Imagine flipping the script. Imagine holding back for once and not reaching out. How long would it take before she noticed your absence? How long before she reached out first? If the answer is days, weeks, or maybe never, then that silence tells you everything. It tells you that her investment in you is not deep enough to create action. And if she doesn't act without being prompted, then you're not her priority. You're her backup. Relationships don't thrive on obligation, they thrive on desire. You deserve to be with someone who wants to hear your voice, who can't wait to share their thoughts with you, who feels excitement in being the one to initiate. That kind of connection creates balance, harmony, and mutual respect. Anything less than that is settling. So ask yourself this: if you stopped initiating today, would the connection survive? Would she step up, or would everything fade into silence? But the answer may hurt, but it's the kind of clarity that saves you from wasting months or years on someone who never intended to choose you fully. When you recognize this pattern for what it is, you reclaim your power, you stop chasing, stop begging for scraps of effort, and start demanding the reciprocity you deserve. Because love isn't proven by how much you initiate, it's proven by how much both of you are willing to meet each other in the middle. And if she can't give you that, then she's not your partner. She's holding you as her backup, and it's time to step out of that role. One of the most telling signs that she's keeping you as her backup option is how she reacts when the conversation turns toward defining the relationship. In the beginning, everything may feel exciting, long talks, shared laughs, sparks of connection. But when you try to ask, where's this going? Or what are we to each other? She becomes vague, evasive, or even defensive. She might laugh it off, change the subject, or tell you she doesn't like labels. At first, you might accept that answer, convincing yourself she just wants to take things slow. But over time, you notice that the more you try to find clarity, the more she resists giving it. And that resistance is not about timing, it's about intention. A woman who truly sees you as someone she wants in her future won't be afraid of clarity. Even if she's not ready to rush into a full commitment, she will still communicate where she stands. She'll say, I like where this is going, or I want to keep building with you. She'll give you reassurance that her actions and her words are aligned. But when she's keeping you as her backup, clarity is the last thing she wants. Why? Because clarity would mean making a decision. It would mean either choosing you or letting you go. And as long as she keeps things undefined, she gets to keep the comfort of your presence without the responsibility of commitment. Notice how this avoidance usually comes packaged in charming excuses. She might say she's not ready for anything serious, or she wants to live in the moment, or she doesn't want to ruin what you have by putting a label on it. On the surface, those phrases sound reasonable, even mature. But when weeks turn into months and nothing changes, you begin to realize that they're not expressions of caution. They're shields. Shields that protect her from having to commit while still allowing her to enjoy the benefits of your time, your attention, and your loyalty. The danger of letting this slide is that it traps you in limbo. You find yourself in a half relationship where you act like a partner, but never get the acknowledgement of being one. You invest your emotions, your energy, and sometimes even your future plans into someone who never gives you the certainty that you're truly chosen. And over time, this uncertainty begins to wear on you. You start questioning your worth. You wonder if you're asking for too much by simply wanting clarity. But the truth is, clarity is not too much. It's the bare minimum of respect. Let's flip the perspective for a moment. Imagine you meet someone you truly value, someone you can't imagine losing. Would you hesitate to define what they mean to you? Would you risk losing them by playing games or avoiding the conversation? Of course not. You would want them to know they're important. You would want them to feel secure in your presence. That's what people do when they're serious. So if she can spend countless nights talking with you, laughing with you, even leaning on you emotionally, but can't bring herself to acknowledge you as her partner, that's not hesitation. It's intention. She doesn't see you as her choice. She sees you as her option. Now, some people will argue that labels don't matter, that actions speak louder than words. And yes, actions do matter. But if her actions are affectionate while her words avoid commitment, that contradiction is not romantic. It's misleading. Because real alignment shows up when both actions and words point in the same direction. A person who loves you doesn't just show you affection in the moment. They give you the assurance of where you stand in their life. Avoidance of defining the relationship often comes with another layer. She might keep things intentionally blurry so she can explore other options. By refusing to commit to you, she leaves the door open for someone else to step in. And the harsh truth is, if someone better suited to her comes along, she has the freedom to walk away without ever having promised you anything. Meanwhile, you're left hurt, realizing you were never her priority, you were her placeholder. It's painful to face, but it's also liberating. Because once you see this pattern clearly, you can stop wasting your energy waiting for clarity that will never come. You can stop accepting half answers, stop letting yourself be strung along by vague promises. You deserve someone who doesn't flinch at the idea of defining what you mean to them. You deserve someone who wants to claim you, who wants to build a future with you, who wants to remove doubt instead of feeding it. If she avoids defining the relationship, it's not because she's protecting the connection. It's because she's protecting her options. And you're not meant to be someone's option. You're meant to be someone's choice. The longer you allow this avoidance to continue, the more power you give it. But the moment you draw the line and say, I need clarity, you reclaim your dignity. And if she can't give you a clear answer, you already have the answer you need. Because someone who wants you will never hesitate to let you know. They'll make it unmistakably clear that you're not their backup plan. You're their only plan. Another powerful sign that she's keeping you as a backup option is the lack of emotional investment. On the surface, she might appear engaged. She'll smile when you're together, laugh at your jokes, maybe even share casual conversations. But when you pay close attention, you'll notice that the deeper layers are missing. She doesn't open up about her fears, her dreams, or her struggles. She doesn't create a space for you to share yours either. Instead, everything remains light, surface, level, and transactional, like she's giving you just enough to keep you around but never enough to let you in. Emotional investment is what transforms two people from acquaintances into partners. It's what creates intimacy, trust, and real connection. Without it, you're essentially orbiting each other without ever colliding. And that's exactly how someone treats a backup option. They keep you close enough to be convenient, but not close enough to become indispensable. Think about the conversations you've had with her. Do they stay stuck in the shallow zone of, how was your day? And what are you doing this weekend? Or do they ever venture into the deeper questions of who you really are, what you believe in, and what keeps you awake at night? If you notice that she dodges those deeper topics or quickly changes the subject when things get too personal, it's because emotional intimacy creates responsibility. And if she doesn't see you as her first choice, she doesn't want to give you that access. Pay attention also to how she responds when you share something vulnerable. Maybe you open up about a tough week at work, a family issue, or even your hopes for the future. Does she lean in with empathy, asking questions, offering support? Or does she give you a quick, half-hearted response and then steer the conversation back to herself or something lighter? That difference is critical. A woman who truly cares about you will treat your emotions with respect. She'll remember the details you share, she'll follow up later, she'll hold space for your struggles. But a woman who sees you as a backup doesn't have the motivation to invest in your inner world. She'll let you talk, but she won't connect. Here's another layer: emotional investment also shows up in how someone celebrates you. When good things happen in your life, does she share in your joy? Does she light up when you tell her about your wins, your progress, your goals? Or does she respond flatly, almost indifferent, as though your achievements don't affect her at all? Indifference is one of the clearest signs that you're not her priority, because when someone truly values you, your joy becomes their joy. They care about what excites you, and they want to be part of it. A lack of emotional investment can also reveal itself in small but telling behaviors. She forgets important details you've shared. She doesn't check in when she knows you've had a big day. She rarely asks how you're really feeling. Instead, the dynamic is reversed. You're the one doing the listening, the caring, the remembering. And at first, you might excuse it. You might think she's just not that expressive, or she shows it in her own way. But over time, you'll feel the emptiness of carrying all the emotional weight yourself. This imbalance can leave you feeling invisible, even when you're physically together. You can be sitting across from her at dinner, talking about your world, and still feel like she's not truly there with you. That disconnection eats away at your confidence and leaves you wondering why your feelings never seem to matter as much as hers. But the truth is, it's not about your worth, it's about her choice. She's chosen not to invest because to her, you're not the destination. You're the placeholder. The sad part is, many people settle for this. They convince themselves that a surface-level connection is better than none at all. They hope that if they stick around long enough, she'll eventually open up, eventually care more, eventually invest. But that hope is rarely rewarded. Emotional investment isn't something that needs to be dragged out of someone. It's something they freely give when they see you as valuable. If she withholds it, it's because she doesn't intend to build with you. And here's the hard truth: a relationship without emotional investment isn't really a relationship. It's a performance. You play the role of the attentive, giving partner, and she plays the role of someone kind of interested, but the script never develops. The plot never deepens. It stays on the same flat stage, repeating the same shallow lines. And while you're pouring your heart into the act, she's keeping her options open for someone else to walk onto her stage. You deserve more than that. You deserve someone who meets you emotionally, who shares their inner world with you, who invites you into their dreams and fears. You deserve someone who doesn't just accept your vulnerability, but values it, treasures it, and mirrors it back. Without that, you're not in a partnership, you're in limbo. So pay attention to the silence, to the lack of depth, to the missing investment. Because those gaps aren't accidents, they're signs. Signs that she's not choosing you, she's just keeping you close enough to use your presence until her real choice arrives. And once you see that clearly, you can stop settling for emotional scraps and start holding out for the fullness of love you truly deserve. One of the clearest signs that you're being kept as a backup option is when her communication with you is tied directly to her needs. Pay attention to the patterns of when she calls, when she texts, and when she suddenly shows up. If you notice that her presence in your life spikes only when she wants something, whether it's emotional support, favors, or even just a distraction from boredom, you're not her priority, you're her safety net. At first, this behavior can feel flattering. She calls you when she's upset, she vents to you when her day goes wrong, she leans on you when she's stressed. You might even think, she trusts me, she depends on me, and in a healthy relationship, that would be true. Mutual support is part of intimacy. But here's the difference: in a balanced relationship, support flows both ways. She leans on you and you can lean on her. She calls you in her lows, but she's also there for you in yours. If you start to notice that the exchange is one-sided, that she comes to you only when she needs but disappears when you need, it's not trust, it's convenience. Notice the timing of her attention. Does she text you only late at night when she's bored and lonely? Does she call you only after something goes wrong with someone else in her life? Does she reach out only when she wants advice, money, or help with something practical? If the majority of her outreach happens when it benefits her and not simply because she wants to connect with you, then you're not building a relationship. You're filling a role she assigns to you when it's useful and sets aside when it's not. The truth is, someone who's genuinely invested in you doesn't need a reason to reach out. They don't need a problem to solve or a favor to ask. They'll send you a message just to check in, to share a thought, to tell you they were thinking of you. That's how you know you matter to them. But when every call, every message, every interaction feels tied to her needs, the imbalance becomes clear. You're giving her your time, your energy, and your heart, but what are you really getting in return? This dynamic can be draining because it makes you feel useful, but not valued. Useful when she's lonely. Useful when she's stuck. Useful when she wants attention. But outside of those moments, you're invisible. And that creates a cycle where you're constantly waiting for her to need you again, mistaking those moments of convenience for moments of connection. But convenience is not connection. Connection is built on choice, not need. Think about the times you've needed her. When you were struggling, did she show up with the same urgency you show up for her? Did she check in afterward, offer comfort, or make sure you were okay? Or did she vanish, minimize your struggles, or change the subject back to herself? The answer to those questions will tell you everything about her intentions, because someone who cares sees your needs as just as important as theirs. Someone who doesn't will treat your needs as an inconvenience. Another layer to this is how she reacts when you say no. If she's keeping you as a backup, your value to her lies in your usefulness. The moment you stop fulfilling that role, by saying no to a favor, by being unavailable when she wants your attention, you'll see her interest drop immediately. She might become cold, distant, or even irritated. Why? Because you stopped serving the purpose she had for you. And in her mind, if you're not meeting her needs, then you're not worth her time. That's the harsh reality of being someone's backup. Your worth is measured by utility, not love. The heartbreaking part is how easy it is to confuse this with intimacy. Because in those moments when she does reach out, she may sound vulnerable, emotional, and even affectionate. She might tell you things she doesn't tell others, and you convince yourself that this means you're special. But vulnerability without reciprocity is not intimacy, it's exploitation. She gives you just enough to keep you believing, while never actually investing in you the way you invest in her. It's important to remember that you deserve more than being someone's go-to problem solver or late night distraction. You deserve to be wanted, not just needed. You deserve someone who reaches out because they enjoy your presence, not just because they want something from you. The difference between those two is the difference between being chosen and being used. If you recognize that she only comes to you when she needs something, you have a decision to make. You can continue playing that role, hoping that someday she'll see your worth beyond your usefulness. Or you can step back and realize that love doesn't keep score like that. Real love doesn't appear only in times of need. It's steady, consistent, and mutual. The next time she reaches out, ask yourself, would she be calling me if she didn't need anything right now? Would she miss me if I wasn't available to solve her problems? Or would she simply find someone else to lean on until she gets what she wants? The answer will reveal whether you're her priority or just her backup. And once you see it, don't ignore it. Because the more you accept being needed without being valued, the more you train yourself to believe that's all you're worth. And you're worth far more than being someone's backup plan. You're worth being someone's first choice. When someone genuinely sees you as a part of their life, they don't keep you hidden. They introduce you to the people who matter to them, the people who make up their world, their friends, their family, their circle. Because to them, building a relationship with you isn't just about two individuals, it's about weaving your lives together. But if she's keeping you as her backup option, one of the clearest signs is that she keeps you at arm's length from that inner circle. She keeps her world separate from yours, as if you exist in a private bubble that no one else is meant to see. At first, you might not think much of it. She tells you she's a private person, or that her family is complicated, or that her friends are too busy. You shrug it off, believing the time will come eventually. But the weeks turn into months, and still you've never met her closest people. You've never been invited to family gatherings, to her best friend's birthday, or even just a casual night out with her circle. It's not an accident, it's intentional. Keeping you away allows her to control the narrative. It keeps you separate from the parts of her life that define her. And more importantly, it keeps you from having roots in her world. Ask yourself, why would someone who claims to care about you avoid introducing you to the people they love? Why would they guard that access so tightly? The answer is usually simple. They don't see you as permanent. When a woman is keeping you as a backup, she doesn't want to risk blurring the lines between her real life and her convenient option. If she introduces you to her circle, suddenly there's accountability. Suddenly her friends and family will ask questions, notice patterns, and even expect you to become part of the picture. And if you're just a backup, she doesn't want that pressure. There's another side to this too. Introducing you to her circle would mean she's claiming you. It would mean she's telling the people closest to her, this is someone important to me. That's not something she's willing to do if she doesn't see you as her priority. So she keeps you compartmentalized. She enjoys your company in private, but when it comes to public life, you're invisible. And the longer you tolerate this invisibility, the more comfortable she becomes in keeping you hidden. Think about how it feels when someone is proud of you. They want to show you off. They want the people they love to know about you, to meet you, to see what they see. Their joy in you is contagious. They can't contain it. If that joy is missing, if she's content to keep you on the sidelines, then you're not being cherished. You're being managed. You're part of her life only when it's convenient, never when it requires real integration. This dynamic can be subtle, but its impact is heavy. You start to feel like a secret, like you're living in the shadows of her life. You can share dinners, laughter, even intimacy, but you'll always feel the invisible wall between you and the rest of her world. And over time, that wall chips away at your confidence. You wonder why you're not good enough to be introduced. You wonder what she's hiding, or worse, who else she's keeping you from discovering. Those doubts aren't paranoia, they're signals. Signals that she's not positioning you as her first choice, but as her fallback. Sometimes she'll offer excuses that sound noble. She might say, I don't want to rush, or I'm protecting you from my complicated family, or I like to keep my personal life separate. Those excuses work for a while, but eventually they collapse under the weight of time. Because when someone values you, the natural progression of love is inclusion. They don't protect you from their world, they invite you into it. Pay attention, too, to how much of her world you actually know. Have you seen her home beyond the curated spots she chooses? Do you know her routines, her habits, her real struggles? Or does everything feel filtered, controlled, and just out of reach? The less access you have, the more likely it is that she's intentionally holding back. That's not what people do when they're serious. That's what people do when they're keeping options open. The truth is, being kept away from her inner circle isn't about timing, it's about priority. If she wanted you there, you'd be there. If she was proud of you, you'd know it. If she saw you as her choice, she wouldn't hide you. And the fact that she does is the answer you've been avoiding. You deserve to be with someone who claims you openly, who integrates you into the fabric of their life, who says without hesitation, this is the person who matters to me. You deserve to sit at the table with her family, to laugh with her friends, to feel like you belong in her world. Anything less is not love, it's limbo. So if you find yourself always waiting for the day she'll finally bring you in, understand this: people don't hide their treasures. If she's hiding you, it's because she doesn't see you as one. And the sooner you accept that truth, the sooner you can walk away from the shadows and into a relationship where you're not a backup, but the choice. At the end of the day, love should never feel like guesswork, like you're piecing together clues to figure out where you stand. If you've recognized yourself in these signs, if she keeps you at arm's length, gives you the bare minimum, hides you from her world, or avoids building a real future with you, then you already have your answer. You're not her priority, you're her backup. And let me tell you something, you are worth more than that. You are worth being chosen fully and without hesitation. You deserve to be with someone who shows up for you, who doesn't just keep you around when it's convenient, but invests in you, claims you, and makes you part of their life. The hardest truth to face is that sometimes the person you want the most is not the person who values you the most. But the sooner you see that, the sooner you can free yourself from being someone's option and step into being someone's choice. Don't settle for half love, don't tolerate half effort, and don't accept being hidden in the shadows of someone else's indecision. Walk away with your head high, because the right relationship won't leave you questioning, it will leave you certain.